Welcome to the Big Book Roundtable and the RICO 12 family of recovery resources targeted at people from all backgrounds, faiths, and places, dealing with addictions of all varieties. We're just grateful to be here sitting around this roundtable. I've got Nikki, I've got David, and me from all over North America, and from different perspectives and different understandings, different fellowship, primary fellowships. But man, the understanding that comes out of this roundtable of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous has really opened my eyes, and I'm grateful to have that. So, I'm Justin B. I'm a son of an all-powerful, all-loving God, and grateful to be the host of the mediator, I guess, of this roundtable. And I've got Nikki M. and David G. joining with us. Nikki, why don't you just take a second and say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Nikki M. And according to my big book, I live in a spirit world. So that makes me a non-human spirit creature hoping to serve God's people today. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. David, why don't you introduce yourself real quick also?
Yeah, happy to. Thank you for your service, Justin. I'm David G. I'm an alcoholic addict of many sorts, recovered by the grace of a loving God, and the instructions is laid out in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm Christ-centered today. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, David. All right. So, all right. Grateful to continue our reading through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and this is what we do in the Big Book Roundtable. We go through line by line. We are currently in chapter 4. We Agnostics, and we're on page 51. We'll be reading at the bottom of page 51 through the very top of page 53 today, and commenting, asking some questions, taking some insights out of this. So grab your Big Book, pen, marker, highlighter, whatever it is you do to take notes, to try and remember these things and put them into action in your life. And let's dive in as we read here and discuss this. All right, page 51. Here we go. We asked ourselves this: are not some of us just as biased and unreasonable about the realm of the spirit as were the ancients about the realm of the material? Even in the present century, American newspapers were afraid to print an account of the Wright brothers' first successful flight at Kitty Hawk. Had not all efforts at flight failed before? Did not Professor Langley's flying machine go to the bottom of the Potomac River? Was it not true that the best mathematical minds had proved man could never fly? Had not people said God had reserved this privilege to the birds? Only 30 years later, the conquest of the air was almost an old story and airplane travel was in full swing. But in most fields, our generation has witnessed complete liberation of our thinking. Show any longshoreman a Sunday supplement describing a proposal to explore the moon by means of a rocket, and he will say, "I bet they do it. Maybe not so long either." Is not our age characterized by the ease with which we discard old ideas for new? By the complete readiness with which we throw away the theory or gadget which does not work for something new, which does? Which does not work for something new, which does? We had to ask ourselves why we shouldn't apply our human problems this same readiness to change our point of view. We were having trouble with personal relationships. We couldn't control our emotional natures. We were a prey to misery and depression. We couldn't make a living. We had a feeling of uselessness. We were full of fear. We were unhappy. We couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. Was not a basic solution of these bedevilments more important than whether we should see newsreels of lunar flight? Of course it was. When we saw others solve their problems by a simple reliance upon the spirit of the universe, we had to stop doubting the power of God. Our ideas did not work, but the God idea did. The Wright brothers' almost childish faith that they could build a machine which would fly was the mainspring of their accomplishment. Without that, nothing could have happened. We agnostics and atheists were sticking to the idea that self-sufficiency would solve our problems. When others showed us that God's sufficiency worked with them, we began to feel like those who had insisted the Wrights would never fly. All right. So as we go through that, there's some very key parts of the Big Book here that people come back to over and over again. as things to ask ourselves and things to consider in our recovery. So I'm excited to dive into this. We're going to start today with Nikki. Nikki, if you wouldn't mind running through some of the things that you pull out of this reading.
Well, thank you, Justin, so much for reading. And I just love this roundtable. Everybody, I'm learning so much as we're here. And, David and Justin are my sponsors and they don't even know it. So I'm just so excited. David's a historian really here. So I more so give my experience, strength, and hope, as you guys know. And here it tells us, ask yourself this: are not some of us, that's me, Nikki, I'm biased and unreasonable about the realm of the spirit? Yes, I am. As the ancients were, as the realm of the material. Yes, I am. I come in here and it's like, I'm only here because nothing else worked. I've tried everything else. So now I'm here and I'm unreasonable about it. I don't believe in it, but I have to stay. And then I see it, right? So I put yes. The rest of this paragraph, I'm going to let David, if he wants to break it down, because I don't live here. I believe this is all fake news. I believe, if you stay here long enough, everybody, the consciousness of your belief will come to you, but the Wright brothers weren't the first to fly. That's just my experience with that. So we'll let David and other people break that part down. I like to go right to 52 because, you do find parts in the book, as Justin said, that people just sit on. And I need complete liberation of my thinking. That's what I mean. I have that highlighted. I need complete liberation from my thinking. And, it's right here. It says, discard old ideas for new ones. My old ideas aren't working. I need to be completely ready to throw away gadgets, theories that don't work for something new. Hey, everybody, if you're not old enough, some of us remember pagers. I don't see anybody using pagers anymore because we got something even better called a cell phone, right? So my old life doesn't work. I need to throw away everything that's not working and get these new ideas. And this is where I come a lot. And that's why I skipped over that other part, because to me, it's not my experience with the book, but David, I'm sure, has a lot. And Justin, you may too. But I love this part. We have to ask ourselves, why shouldn't we apply to our human problems this same readiness to change our point of view? We need to have we talked about it in our last episode, a revolutionary change in our ideas, beliefs, all this stuff. Ask yourself this, because this is the spiritual malady. If you are in the program and you're not free, are you having trouble with personal relationships? Is that a yes? Can you control your emotional nature sober? Forget even drunk, high, out of your mind on whatever you're doing. Are you prey to misery and depression sober? Can you not make a living? See, I could make a lot of money, but I couldn't make a living. I could make a lot of money, but I was the tornado at work. Are you having a feeling of uselessness? See, my line out for this paragraph says, dry drunk. These are, as you'll see further down, the bedevilments. Are you full of fear? Are you unhappy and can't be of real help to others? Because if you are suffering. This describes the spiritual malady, the dry drunk. You're just sober. You're in sobriety. Page 428 in the stories talks about this. I have my line out that says page 428, where it says, you're going to reach a crossroads. You're sober for 6 months, 6 years, and you're not getting any better. You're contemplating suicide almost every day. Your emotions are swinging between paralyzing despair and murderous rage. Often in the space of a single moment, you're not happy, joyous, free, and you're miserable and you're sick of it. That is what they're describing right here on page 52. So I take a lot of people here because I can live here. This morning, I'm having trouble with personal relationships, my neighbors, but I don't stay here. I can control my emotional natures. I'm not going to be prey to misery and depression because of it. So this book helps me with that. Further down, see, I can see that others solve their problems. They solve their problems. And my line out, who do I want to have dinner with? Justin, they'll say, who do you want to sit and have dinner with? If you could pick somebody, Jesus Christ, Gandhi, Mother Teresa. I saw these people solve their problems by a simple reliance on the Spirit. the God of their understanding. I have to stop doubting the power of God. My ideas don't work. God, being responsible, the spiritual principles, getting humble, getting helpful, those ideas work. You know, self-sufficiency, right? The idea self-sufficiency would solve my problems. My line out says it's a lie. That's my old thinking. And when others show me that God sufficiency, if you're new, that's going to be your sponsor sitting in front of you. They are going to show you that this program, relying fully on God, works for them. And that's all you have to do. Trust and believe. And this power can come to you too. I hope that's helpful, you guys.
Thank you, Nikki, for going into that. I appreciate your experience with that. David, talk to us a little bit about what you pull out of this reading.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of it are right along those lines that she just described. That's my experience as well. Realm of the spirit, or some of us just as biased. That just means prejudice. We've been talking about that all the way through here. Prejudged ideas that really block me from the power of God. See, for me, this is more than a belief. People say, all I need to do is believe in God, I'm okay. An action or a belief without any action is useless. It's not until I make a decision based on that belief and take action that the belief really begins to come full circle. I can believe I'm going to get up right now, go in here and get a glass of water. But unless I get off my tail, take a few certain simple steps toward that, get a glass out, turn the faucet on, get a drink. I mean, I can believe that all day long, but unless I take those actions, it's just a belief. It's useless. And so really that's what it's telling us here. I've had a belief, but is it working? What's my life look like? Am I happy? Am I joyous? Am I free? Am I in the realm of the spirit that it talks about here? You know, that word realm, it just means rule. You know, when we get to page 84, it's going to give us a set of directions for step 10. And then in 86 and 87, it's going to give us directions for step 11. This is how I stay in the realm of the spirit every day. And so when I'm in this part of the work and I'm new, yeah, I'm pretty biased and unreasonable about that. But as I get up to there, I become very reasonable. Hell, I can't imagine my life without it. I used to think I don't have enough time to do meditation. Now I don't have not enough time to do it. I better do it daily, you know, and that's been my experience, because if not, then I begin to go back to sleep. So, and that's it says that's how the ancients were about the realm of the material. And it talks about, you know, Kitty Hawk and Professor Langley's flying machine going to the bottom of the Potomac River. We know that's an Appalachian River in West Virginia. We know that, you know, they had proved that man could never fly. But I can promise you that's not the truth. I'm getting ready to fly to Texas for a conference that I'm speaking at. I'm getting ready to fly to Australia. You know, if that were true, there's no way that could have ever happened. So were their ideas and their concepts and their beliefs wrong? Yes. Was mine? Yes. I don't longer believe in a God that is out to get me. He's going to punish me. He's going to hurt me. Hell, with a God like that, who needs a devil? And so I had to change my conception, my beliefs, my thoughts, my attitude, my feelings about this power. Was that easy? No. But as I persisted and stayed with it, man, I can promise you it's changed tremendously. I no longer believe that. I don't believe that God's the one out to get me. I believe it's self. It's in my mind. And you read it. In most fields, our generation have witnessed, not just told about, not just heard about, they have witnessed complete liberation of our keyword thinking. And think about that complete liberation, that freedom from our thinking. I mean, I think that's what every one of us are here striving for. I mean, we've been sober for a while. We've been off the drugs, the alcohol, the lust, the booze, the food, whatever it is. But how's my thinking? Do I really have complete liberation? And I can tell you some days that's an absolute yes, and some days that's an absolute hell no. I don't have complete freedom from that. And a Sunday supplement. Hell, I didn't even know what that was. But that was a newspaper that was written back in the 30s and 40s. It's also a TV program in the UK, a Sunday supplement, describing the proposal to the moon by means of a rocket. And he says, hell, I bet they do it. Maybe not so long either. You've got to have an open mind to do that. You have to realize that when this book was written, there had been no rocket to the moon yet. That didn't come until the 60s. And so for someone to say, yeah, I bet they can do that. Not so that would be like me saying today, hey, I'm going to jump in my truck as soon as this roundtable's over. And I'm just going to fly over there to Canada real quick and hang out with Nikki all day and then come back and cook dinner for my wife. You'd probably think, man, that guy's crazy as hell. I don't put away anything anymore. I mean, I'd stopped a guy that works for I drive for one of the largest fleets in the world, but there's one a little bit larger than that. And I stopped him yesterday and I said, hey, man, how does the guy go about really hooking up with you guys? And he said, it's impossible. And I just smiled. I said, no, it's not impossible, dude. Either that or you don't believe in God, one of the two. So anyway, all that aside, a complete readiness. Do I have that? Am I completely ready now to throw away that theory or gadget? And hell, I need to know what they are. I mean, really, that's a set of principles that I live by. How's them working out? You know, I mean, am I living by honesty, hope, faith, love, you know, or am I living with hate, discontent, deviation, you know, all this stuff? If my cell phone does not work, I can promise you I'm gonna mess with it for a bit. But if it doesn't work, then I'm gonna get rid of it. Same way with my vehicle, same way with the other things. The theory or gadget, I'm going to throw it away. Why can't I do that with my idea about God? Why can't I just throw that to the side and pick up something new, which does? And it comes down to fear. It comes down to the mind of self, which blocks me from having a new experience with the Creator because it wants to hold on to its very survival by coming at me with all the old ideas and the ways of life that we've lived up to this point. Hell, it didn't work. And then, of course, you know, the classic, the bedevilments. When I work with somebody through this book, we don't just ask questions and look at it. Those are writing assignments, and we start right there. Were you having trouble with personal relationships? Prayerfully ask yourself, is that a yes? Okay, tell me how. Could you control your emotional natures? Write another one. Tell me how. Notice it says we were a prey. See, I always thought I was the predator here. But it's saying, no, we're the prey to misery and depression. Well, if that's true, then who's the predator? And we really begin to seek out self. And as I go through each one of these bedevilments and we write them down on a sheet of paper, I need to look at the other side of that and say, what would this look like if I was a recovered man? Personal relationships. What would that look like? I remember writing about that. If I could control my emotional natures after going through this process, what would that look like? Since I'm no longer a prey of misery and depression, what does that mean? And there was a hell of a lot of writing involved. There just was. But that was things that really opened my mind to, hey, I'm dying from old beliefs, and here's how. For me, just saying yes or no, that wasn't enough. I mean, I needed specifics. And then you said it here, when we saw others solve their problems by simple reliance. See, that's my problem. I don't have simple reliance. I have reliance, but it's not very simple. It's very complicated. Spirit of the universe, there's another term. We looked at that on 47. Our idea did not work, but the God idea did. So it's saying it over and over and over here on top of 53 there. It's not by chance that we were given the power to reason. Man, how powerful is that? The power of the mind to understand and form judgment is exactly what that word means. So, and that's where I've been most all of my life. So I don't know. It's a beautiful process. It's something that I've done. It's something that I have my guys do. And it just really gives you deeper insight. It gives you an experience through the big book. And it really, really begins to open up. Hey, I'm not dying from alcohol, lust, drugs, sex, food. I'm dying from my beliefs. I'm dying from my conceptions. And now we're going to start looking at their source from here on. So thanks, Justin.
Thanks, David. Appreciate that. I've got a couple of questions for each of you. And these ones, we're going to do a little bit more of a, I don't know, we'll just do an open riff on this, but I'd like to just start off this here. Nikki, you talked a lot about self-sufficiency versus God sufficiency. I'd like you to just go a little bit deeper on that. How do you know, or how do you recognize when you are in self-sufficiency rather than God sufficiency, and how do you make that transition there?
Okay, well, that's a wonderful question. And I'll have to say it, I have a really wonderful sponsor who showed me a very clear-cut way of knowing this. Am I in God's will or I'm in my will? Am I in Nikki's thinking or God's thinking? And it's very simple. Why? I did a thorough step 4. I did a moral inventory of myself. Doesn't say an action inventory. It says a moral. So my morals are, I'm arrogant. If I get arrogant, I know, right? Self-loathing, I know I'm in my will. If I'm rude to people, I instantly know I'm in my will. If I am suspicious, envious, self-seeking, selfish, if I'm exaggerating, not so much even lying, no one loves me. The neighbors are going to destroy my house. That's not true. You see, like any little thing, if I'm lustful, hate, right now, I know I'm literally in resentment over the neighbors. I don't even know if you guys can hear the construction going on right now and all that stuff. So what I'm in my will. Now I vacillate because I'm not doing this perfect. Humble, right? How do I know I'm in God's will? I'm humble. I don't know anything. I'm getting polite because I'm not even saying anything. So that's polite. I'm not even saying anything. I'm getting obsessed with gratitude that I even have a home that can, that's in this trouble. I mean, most people don't even have a bed. I'm getting responsible. After this call, I have to call my lawyer, the building inspector. I mean, it goes down the list. That's how I know I'm in God's will. I hope that's kind of answering your questions, because I'm not just, here it is. I'm also not just sitting and doing nothing while waiting for God to tell me what to do. I'm doing the next right thing and leaving the results up to God. And then even being here, how do I know? I'm just here with you guys doing the next right thing, even if I'm not fully at perfect peace and ease alone. And even if my fears haven't completely fallen from me in this moment, I'm doing all of the actions. You guys are speaking the truth over me. And I'm in my book, which is telling me you need to be God sufficient. So it's really simple, because this is now a working part of my brain. Either I'm living in God's will or I'm living in my will. I'm either being helpful, wanting nothing in return, or I'm being selfish, thinking about what I need. And what do I need? Nothing. You guys are reminding me this. All of this is fake news. Not all of it. None of it. I'm in a matrix. I mean, I took the pill. Even my phone's fake. Nothing's real. I hope that answers that.
Thank you, Nikki, for going into that. I appreciate it. Well, let's go to David. David, you talked about talking to a person with another fleet, and they saying, "Hey, it's impossible," and you're just like, "No, it's not impossible." And you must, or you don't believe that God can make things possible. And I'd like to kind of go there a little bit. With God, all things are possible, even living outside of the bedevilments. So talk to us a little bit about how God can help you live outside of the bedevilments, David.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first I have to discover, that's why we write them. I mean, for me to answer the questions, it's pretty powerful, but really whenever I put it on paper with ink, then I get a better understanding of what those things look like. For me, what that looks like living outside of those today is I have a lot of awareness of those things. I really am aware now in my personal relationships. Am I being honest? Am I being humble? Am I being considerate? That's a big one, because I never was. I was always quick with an answer off of my tongue that was damaging to people, and it hurt them, or I'd be around other people. I'd make a comment that you could tell just hurt someone. And today I don't live that way. I mean, at the same time, I'm not going to condone bad behavior if it's coming at me, but I don't have to call that out in front of everybody anymore. I can pull that person to the side and say, "Hey, look, man, I don't appreciate the way you're talking to me. And if this is something we need to discuss further around the corner, we can. But, I respect you. You respect me. That's just the way it is." And I've even told my wife that. And that was after, I brought some pretty serious hurt into our home. Some time had passed, and gratefully, she's one that has never brought that up when we're in an argument or tried to use that against me. She just never has. But there's a couple of things that had come up, and I just told her, "You know what? You're not allowed to talk to me that way. That's just the way it is." And so my personal relationships has changed as a result of that. Being a prey to misery and depression, hell, it's because today I know who the predator is. It's not me, it's self. It's, I understand the ways of self. And we're really going to be looking at that more in depth as we go here. But, I don't have my outline with me, but I did write what that looked like to be a recovered man on the other side of those bedevilments. And I looked back about a year later after I'd done that work, and every one of those things were coming true in my life. I was just amazed. I was like, my God, this is really happening. This is really happening. And when he asked me to do that, I thought, that's a hell of a lot of work. The book doesn't ask to do that. That's unnecessary. That's this, that's that. But I can tell you, thank God I did, because it really gave me an outline that I couldn't live up to 100%, but I could get around 80. And that's good enough for me. And what we do is we start falling into the four absolutes, and we start looking at new ways to practice those. I'm going to do a workshop on those later this year. And I can tell you, man, that is a beautiful way to live. It's something I wake up and try to practice on the daily now. For me, that's the other side of the bedevilments, is the four absolutes, and practicing that way of life. So thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thank you, David. And I'll start off with those four absolutes, because I think both of you referenced that one way or the other. And what are the four absolutes? They're the four basic principles of the Oxford group, from which AA basically stemmed from. And that's being absolute honesty, absolute purity, absolute unselfishness, and absolute love. Now, I'm never going to be absolutely any of those things, but I can sure use those as targets and move towards those. And that's how I can know, for me, that's how I can know if I'm in self's will or in God's will. Am I experiencing those things? And if not, it's likely self's will. It's likely an exterior force, or that self that is driving it, rather than God. Now let's go to other takeaways. Nikki, what's a takeaway you have from our conversation and reading here?
Oh, so many takeaways. This was so helpful, you guys. I really need it. I mean, this is why we do what we do. I think the greatest takeaway that I've just gotten from our conversation is, I'm not going to do this perfect. This is real simple, and that the God idea works. Nothing else does. And again, one more time, we aren't saints. Everybody remember that. I love what David just said. 80%, not that we don't want to shoot to try and do 100, but no, I'm not going to be perfect. God is. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. David, how about you? A takeaway from you?
Well, that we discard old ideas for new. I think once we can get to that point, then we're really on our way to recovery. And it's hard to do that. It really is. But enough emotional beatings inside of here, we become pretty willing, or at least I did. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And thank you all for joining us. To learn more about RICO 12 and what we're doing and how you can support these projects, please consider going to RICO12.com. That's RECO12.com. And to learn about any of the other projects that David and Nikki discussed, we've got links in the show notes of the podcast. And we'll have information about any workshops that David talked about, the Four Absolutes workshop, and maybe other things that are going on. We'll put those in show notes as we get those there. And remember, everybody, come join us in the fellowship of the Spirit. Come trudge this adventurous and amazing road of happy destiny with us. Work it. You are worth it.